The coffee was still hot in Admiral Kim Dae-ho hands when the world changed forever. It was Tuesday morning in Seoul, and the sun was shining through the windows of the defense. Command Center Kim Dae-ho was reading reports about training exercises. When every screen in the building started flashing red, the sound came first, a deep humming noise that made people's teeth hurt. Then came the voice. It spoke perfect English, but something about it felt wrong, like hearing a machine try to sing a lullaby. Species. Designation Human. Planet Designation Earth 3. You have been selected for immediate integration into the Galactic Consortium. Resistance will result in planetary sterilization. You have 72 standard hours to surrender unconditionally. Kim Dae-ho set down his coffee cup very slowly. He looked around the room at his officers. Their faces showed the same expression he probably had. Complete calm mixed with something that looked almost like excitement. What happened next would have confused the aliens if they had been watching human reactions instead of screaming or running or begging for mercy. Something else started. The laughter began in the Seoul Command Center and spread across the world like wildfire in Tokyo. Captain Lee Min-ho was suiting up for what he thought would be another training mission. When the message played, he stopped halfway through putting on his helmet and started laughing so hard he had to sit down. His squad looked at him like he had lost his mind. Sir, are you okay? His second-in-command asked. Lee Min-ho wiped tears from his eyes. Better than okay, Sergeant. We finally get to do this for real. Across the ocean in the underground facilities beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Park Soo-jin was analyzing the alien transmission. She was Earth's top expert on what aliens might be like, even though, until this morning, they had all been imaginary. She played the message 3 times, then called her assistant. Get me a line to the United Nations, she said. I need to address the emergency session. Dr. Park Soo-jin had spent 15 years studying theoretical alien contact scenarios. She had written papers about first contact protocols and alien psychology that everyone thought were just academic exercises. Now, as she walked into the UN Assembly Hall, she realized she had been preparing for this exact moment her entire career. The Assembly Hall was packed with representatives from every nation on Earth. Usually, these meetings were full of arguing and political games. Today, everyone sat in perfect silence, waiting for someone to explain what they should do. Dr. Park Soo-jin walked to the podium and looked out at the sea of worried faces. She smiled, the kind of smile that made experienced politicians feel nervous. Gentlemen and ladies, she began, her voice carrying clearly across the silent hall, I believe our visitors have made a fundamental error in judgment. The aliens had done their homework. They had monitored human communications for decades. They had studied human entertainment and military capabilities. They knew about human weapons and technology and had decided Earth would be easy to conquer. What they did not understand was why humans spent so much time preparing for wars that never happened. Why did humans build weapons for enemies that did not exist? Why did they train soldiers to fight battles against impossible odds? Why did human children play games about fighting alien invaders in hidden bases around the world? Military commanders were receiving orders they had practiced hundreds of times but never expected to carry out for real. Colonel Bang Soo-jin opened her sealed orders at the mountain base in Colorado. She had been wondering what those orders contained for 5 years. Alien invasion protocol, she read aloud to her staff. Execute Operation Welcome Party. Her artillery crews had been training with special ammunition designed to penetrate theoretical alien armor. They had practiced coordinated strikes against imaginary alien ships. They had run simulations of urban combat against fictional alien ground forces. Now, it was not theoretical anymore. Captain Nam Ji-jun was in charge of defending Tokyo. He had spent 3 years studying alien invasion scenarios from movies and books and military think tanks. His soldiers thought he was obsessed with impossible situations. Now, as he looked at the real alien ships appearing in the sky, he realized his obsession had been preparation. All units, this is Control, he said into his radio. Remember the Tokyo scenario we practiced last month? This is not a drill around the world. Similar conversations were happening. Military leaders were opening sealed orders that contained battle plans for an invasion everyone hoped would never come. Scientists were activating research projects that had been labeled theoretical for decades. The truth was becoming clear to both humans and their would-be conquerors. Humanity had not been caught unprepared. They had been getting ready for this war Without even knowing it, every science fiction movie where plucky humans defeated superior aliens, every military exercise designed to test responses to impossible threats, every video game where Earth repelled alien invasion, every book about humans, winning against overwhelming odds, all of it had been unconscious preparation for this exact moment. President Chen Wei of the Pacific Alliance made a statement that would be remembered forever. The aliens had given humanity 72 hours to surrender. He looked directly into the camera and said something that made the whole world hold its breath. 72 hours, he said with the confidence of someone who had been expecting this moment. That is very generous. We only need 24. The aliens monitoring human communications expected panic. They expected desperate attempts at negotiation. They expected a planet full of scared primitives begging for mercy. Instead, they found something that made their computers crash trying to process the data. Humans were not scared. They were excited. They were not begging for mercy. They were preparing for war. And strangest of all, they seemed to know exactly how to fight a war they had never fought before. In space, the advanced alien scouts transmitted confused reports back to the main fleet. The humans were not behaving like any species they had conquered before. Instead of trying to hide or surrender, the humans were actively preparing for battle using tactics and weapons that seemed designed specifically for fighting aliens. How was this possible? The humans had never seen alien technology before. They had never fought a space war. How could they be so prepared? The answer would have terrified the aliens humanity had been dreaming about. This war for centuries, they had imagined every possible way aliens might attack and had unconsciously prepared real-world solutions for imaginary problems. As the 72-hour deadline approached, one thing became clear to everyone involved. This was not going to be the quick, easy conquest the aliens had planned. This was going to be the war humanity had been preparing for their entire history. The aliens had declared war on Earth, expecting to find frightened primitives. Instead, they had declared war on a species that smiled when threatened, a species that had been waiting for this moment for generations, a species that had turned preparing for impossible wars into an art form. The countdown had begun, but it was not counting down to Earth's surrender. It was counting down to the moment when humanity would finally get to fight the war they had been dreaming about winning for centuries. The alien ships arrived exactly on time, just like the message had promised. They came out of the darkness between stars like silver knives, cutting through space. Their hulls gleamed with technology that was thousands of years ahead of anything humans had ever built. Commander Yun Jae-sung was waiting for them. He sat in the cockpit of his fighter, watching the alien fleet approach through his tactical display. His squadron was hidden behind the moon using stealth technology that officially did not exist. The ships they flew had been built in secret facilities using designs that combined human imagination with cutting-edge science. The alien fleet commander sent another message to Earth. This time the voice sounded confident, almost bored. Primitive species, your time has expired. Prepare for immediate occupation. Resistance is futile. Yun Jae-sung smiled and opened his communication channel to Earth Command. Soul Control, this is Ghost Squadron. The party guests have arrived. Permission to begin the welcome ceremony. Permission granted, Ghost Leader, came the reply from Admiral Kim Dae-ho. Show them how we greet uninvited visitors. The first wave of alien ships moved toward Earth in perfect formation. They had used this same attack pattern to conquer 47 other worlds. It had never failed. The ships spread out in a net designed to overwhelm any primitive defense system. What happened next made the alien tactical computers start smoking. Human fighters appeared from everywhere. Behind the moon, from asteroid fields, from inside what looked like empty space, the aliens suddenly found themselves surrounded by ships that moved like they knew exactly what the alien formation would be. Lieutenant Commander Oh So-young piloted her interceptor straight through the center of an alien battle group, her weapons locked onto targets that her training computer had been showing her for 3 years. She fired her missiles and watched alien ships explode exactly like they had in the simulations. Ghost 4 to Control, she radioed back to Earth. Sir, their tactics are identical to the Berlin war game we ran last month. It is like they copied our training scenarios. The truth was more disturbing than Oh So-young realized. Humans had been fighting this exact battle for decades, not with real aliens but with imaginary ones. Every possible alien invasion strategy had been explored in human movies. Analyzed by military thinkers and prepared for by defense forces, the aliens were not fighting Earth, they were fighting against centuries of human imagination that had already defeated them thousands of times in stories, games, and dreams. Dr. Kang Mi-ran was deep underground in a facility built inside a mountain in Tibet. She was listening to alien communications and translating what she heard. The messages between alien commanders were getting more confused by the minute. How do they know our battle formations? One alien general transmitted to another. Their counter strategies are perfect. It is as if they have fought us before. Dr. Kang Mi-ran almost laughed as she translated the message. If only they knew the truth, humans had fought these exact battles before. Every science fiction writer who had imagined space combat, every game designer who had created alien invasion scenarios, every military strategist who had planned for theoretical threats, all of them had been preparing humanity for this moment. Captain Nam Jae-jun was defending Seoul when the alien dropships came down from the sky. The ships were huge black triangles that blocked out the sun as they descended toward the city. They carried thousands of alien soldiers equipped with energy weapons and advanced armor. Nam Jae-jun had been preparing for this moment for 5 years. His artillery opened fire with special tungsten rounds designed specifically for penetrating theoretical alien armor. The rounds had been developed by scientists who spent their time imagining what alien technology might look like. Now those imaginary aliens were real and the weapons worked perfectly. The dropships started exploding before they could land. Direct hit. Nam Jae-jun called out to his gun crews, target the ventral armor. Just like in the training films, his soldiers moved through the city using tactics they had learned fighting imaginary aliens in urban warfare simulations. They used weapons designed to counter alien technology that had not existed when the weapons were built. The aliens found themselves fighting an enemy that seemed to know everything about their equipment, their tactics, and their weaknesses. How was this possible? The humans had never seen alien technology before. Lieutenant Park Do-jin led his squad through the wreckage of a crashed alien ship. The interior looked exactly like the mock-ups his team had trained in for 2 years. Every corridor, every room, every control panel was familiar, because human designers had imagined ships exactly like this one decades ago. The alien soldiers they fought moved and fought exactly like the computer opponents in their training simulations. Their weapons fired the same way. Their armor had the same weak points. Everything was familiar. This is too easy, Park Do-jin told his squad as they cleared another section of the ship. It is like fighting against our own training programs above Earth. The space battle was turning into a disaster for the alien fleet. Commander Yoon Jae-sung led his squadron through formations that would have been impossible for pilots who had not spent years practicing against simulated alien opponents. His pilots flew like they were born for this fight, because in a way they were. Every human pilot had grown up playing games about fighting alien invaders. Every military pilot had trained against computer opponents, programmed to fight like theoretical aliens. Now the theoretical had become real and the humans were winning. The alien fleet commander, Admiral Roth Var, sent an emergency message back to Consortium Command. This was supposed to be a simple conquest of a primitive world. Instead, his advanced fleet was being systematically destroyed by forces that fought like they had been preparing for this exact battle their entire lives. Request immediate reinforcements. Admiral Rothvar transmitted, human resistance is beyond all projections. They are using tactics we have never encountered. What Admiral Rothvar did not understand was that humans had encountered these tactics. They had been practicing against them for generations in every form of entertainment, military exercise, and theoretical study. The Consortium had made a critical error. They had assumed that military preparation required actual experience. They did not understand that humans could prepare for wars. They had never fought by imagining them so completely that the difference between simulation and reality became meaningless. As the first day of fighting ended, Earth Defense Command released casualty reports that shocked both sides. Human losses were minimal, while alien losses were catastrophic. The invaders who had expected quick victory found themselves retreating from a planet they had thought would surrender without a fight. Dr. Park Soo-jin addressed the world again that evening, standing before cameras as alien ships burned in the sky behind her. Our visitors seemed surprised by our response, she said with the same unsettling smile. But we have been preparing for this meeting for a very long time. The message was clear to anyone. Listening, humanity had not been caught off guard by alien invasion. They had been looking forward to it. The real war was just beginning, but already the outcome seemed certain. The aliens had declared war on a species that had spent centuries dreaming about this exact conflict and had unconsciously prepared to win. Earth was no longer defending itself, it was fighting back. By the fourth day of fighting, Consortium Command was sending emergency messages across the galaxy. The conquest of Earth was supposed to take hours, not days, and certainly not weeks. Admiral Rothvar had fought in 60 successful planetary invasions. But nothing had prepared him for what he found at Earth. The humans were not just defending themselves, they were enjoying Etroth. Var watched his tactical displays showing battle reports that made no sense according to everything he knew about warfare. His advanced fleet was losing to primitive spacecraft. His elite soldiers were being outfought by defenders who should have been overwhelmed days ago on Earth. Colonel Bang Soo-jin was explaining to her artillery crews why their modifications were working so well against alien armor. The tungsten sabot rounds we developed for the theoretical invasion scenarios, she told them. While alien ships burned overhead today, they are not theoretical anymore. Her weapons had been designed to penetrate advanced alien armor that did not exist when they were invented. The armor was theoretical, imaginary, something that might exist someday. Now that someday was today, and the weapons worked exactly as designed all across Earth. Similar scenes were playing out. Human defenders were using equipment that had been built for wars that existed only in imagination. Scientists were adapting theories from science fiction into real-world applications. Military units were executing battle plans designed for impossible scenarios. Dr. Shindu Young had spent her career working on faster-than-light communication based on ideas she got from reading science fiction novels. The project had been considered interesting but impractical. Now she was using those same theories to jam alien coordination frequencies. It worked, she told her research team, as alien formations fell apart in the sky above their laboratory. Their command structure uses quantum entanglement for coordination, just like I theorized in my paper about fictional FTL communication. The psychological effect on alien forces was devastating. They had expected to face frightened primitives desperate to survive. Instead, they found themselves fighting an enemy that seemed genuinely excited about the war. Human radio chatter was filled with references to movies and books and games, as if the soldiers were finally getting to play out scenarios they had dreamed about their entire lives. Major Kim Soo-bin was coordinating the defense of Australia from a bunker deep underground. She had access to communication channels across the entire continent, and what she heard amazed her. Darwin Base, this is Perth Control. Came one transmission. We just took out 3 alien cruisers using the Sydney Harbour scenario, exactly like we practiced Brisbane. To all units, another voice called out. The drop ship pattern matches the simulation from last year's war games. Execute Operation Crocodile. Kim Soo-bin listened to her forces coordinate their defense using code names and strategies they had developed for theoretical battles against imaginary enemies. Now the enemies were real and the strategies were working perfectly. She opened a broadcast channel to every human military unit on the continent. All forces, this is Continental Command, she announced. We have been preparing for this war our whole lives. The only difference is now it is real, and we finally get to win for real. The message was picked up and repeated by human forces around the world. It became a rallying cry that spread faster than official communications. Humanity was not just fighting for survival. They were fighting the war they had always wanted to fight. Captain Park Jin-ho was leading a boarding action against an alien command ship. His team moved through corridors that looked exactly like the ones they had trained in, because human designers had imagined these exact ship layouts decades earlier. The alien crew fought with weapons and tactics that were familiar to Park Jin-ho and his soldiers. They had practiced against these exact scenarios in virtual reality simulations. They knew where the alien weapons would be placed. They knew how alien soldiers would move. They knew the weak points in alien armor. As his team secured the alien bridge, Park Jin-ho realized something that would have terrified the aliens if they had understood it. Humans did not just know how to fight aliens. They knew how aliens would fight back. The boarding action succeeded. In less than an hour sole control, this is boarding Team Alpha Park, Jinho reported as he stood on the bridge of a ship that had been built by a civilization thousands of years more advanced than humanity. Command ship secured, enemy commander captured. Ship systems under human control. Similar reports were coming in from around the solar system. Human forces were not just defending Earth anymore. They were capturing alien technology and turning it against its creators. Dr. Quan, So Min was analyzing captured alien equipment in a laboratory that had been built specifically for studying theoretical alien technology. The laboratory had existed for 10 years waiting for alien artifacts that everyone assumed would never arrive. The power systems are exactly what we predicted, she told her team, based on the theoretical models we developed from science fiction sources. The control interfaces match the ergonomic studies we did on possible alien physiology. Everything is familiar, what Dr. Quan, So Min did not say, but everyone understood, was that humans were not just familiar with alien technology. They understood it better than some of the aliens using it. Captain Cho Min-jun was establishing humanity's first military base on a captured alien space station. The station was enormous, built for a crew of thousands and equipped with technology that could destroy planets. His engineering teams were already modifying the alien systems, using principles they had learned from theoretical studies of advanced technology. The modifications worked perfectly because human engineers had been thinking about how to improve alien technology for decades. Base construction is ahead of schedule, Cho Min-jun reported to Earth Command. Alien technology is compatible with human modifications, just like the theoretical studies predicted. The implications were staggering. Humanity was not just winning the war, they were absorbing alien technology and making it better. The species that had spent centuries imagining advanced technology was proving better at using it than the species that had invented it. Consortium had made another critical error. They had assumed that technological advancement required gradual development over thousands of years. They did not understand that a species with sufficient imagination could leap ahead by simply thinking through the possibilities. Admiral Roth Var sent his final transmission as human boarding teams reached his command ship. Consortium command, this is Fleet Admiral Roth Var. Human forces have boarded my flagship. My fleet is destroyed or captured. How is this possible? Your species has no experience with void warfare. Your technology is centuries behind ours. How are you winning? The human soldier who answered him was Lieutenant Park Do-jin, the first human to set foot on an alien command bridge. We have been practicing. Park Do-jin said simply. That was the answer that would haunt the consortium for generations. The humans had been practicing fighting wars against superior alien forces for centuries. They had imagined every possible scenario, developed solutions for every theoretical problem, and prepared for conflicts that existed only in dreams. Now those dreams were real, and humanity was winning them. 3 weeks after the first alien ships appeared in Earth skies, everything had changed. The consortium fleet that was supposed to conquer humanity in hours was scattered across the solar system in pieces. Human forces were not just defending their homeworld anymore, they were hunting down the survivors. General Lee Ha-young stood on the bridge of the first human interstellar warship, watching Mars grow larger on the main screen. The red planet had been turned into an alien fortress, but not for much longer. Her fleet of captured and modified alien vessels was ready to take it back. The irony was not lost on her. Humanity had spent decades dreaming about traveling to other worlds and fighting battles among the stars. Now they were doing exactly that, using ships stolen from the enemies who had made it possible. Mars Defense Command, this is General Lee Ha-young commanding the first human interstellar fleet. She announced over the communication channels, surrender your forces and evacuate the planet. You have 1 hour to complete. The alien response came quickly in accented English that carried undertones of desperation. Human Commander, this is Base Commander Velthok. We are prepared to negotiate terms for conditional withdrawal. Lee Ha-young smiled, the same cold smile that had been frightening aliens for weeks. Commander Velthok, she replied, there are no negotiations. You invaded our system without provocation. You threatened our species with extinction. You have 1 hour, then we take Mars by force. The attack began exactly 1 hour later. Human forces moved against the alien fortifications using tactics that combined centuries of theoretical military planning with captured alien technology. The results were devastating. Commander Rumin Su led the assault on the main alien command complex. His team moved through the Martian underground using equipment designed for exactly this type of operation, equipment that had been theoretical until 3 weeks ago. The alien defenders fought with the desperation of soldiers who knew they were losing not just a battle, but an entire war. Their weapons were superior, their fortifications were nearly impregnable, and their training was excellent. It did not matter. Rumin Su and his soldiers fought like they had done this 100 times before, because in simulations and war games and virtual reality training they had, the aliens were fighting their first desperate battle against an impossible enemy. The humans were fighting a battle they had practiced their entire lives. Fortress Alpha secured, Rumin Su reported as his team raised the human flag over the alien command center. Enemy forces eliminated or captured. Martian surface under human control. Similar reports came in from across the solar system. Alien outposts on the moons of Jupiter fell to human assault teams. The asteroid belt mining stations were captured by human naval forces. Even the alien monitoring posts beyond Pluto were hunted down and destroyed. But the real psychological warfare was happening in space itself. Dr. Kwan So Min had discovered something while analyzing captured alien communication equipment. The consortium had been broadcasting human entertainment across their territory. Centuries of human movies, books, and games about alien invasions were now being studied by alien military strategists. They are trying to understand how we defeated them so easily, she explained to the Earth Defense Council, but they do not understand that our entertainment was not just stories, it was training. The message humanity was sending to the galaxy was clear. This was not their first galactic war, it was just the first real one. Captain Cho Min Jun was now commanding humanity's first permanent off-world military base built on a captured alien space station. His engineers had not just repaired the alien systems, they had improved them. The modifications his team made to the alien technology were based on theoretical improvements human scientists had been imagining for decades. Now those improvements were real, and they made human-controlled alien technology superior to the original version's Earth. Command, this is Checkpoint Alpha. Cho Min Jun reported, our defensive systems are fully operational. Human-controlled alien technology is performing beyond specifications. We are ready to expand operations to other star systems. The expansion was already beginning. Human exploration fleets were mapping nearby star systems with the systematic thoroughness of a species planning military campaigns. Their diplomatic missions were studying alien cultures with the intensity of intelligence operations. The galaxy was beginning to understand that humanity's victory over the consortium was not lucky, it was inevitable. A species that spent centuries preparing for impossible wars was always going to be dangerous to everyone. Else Admiral Gulfane commanded what was left of the consortium invasion fleet from a damaged command ship hiding in the outer system. He had been sending increasingly desperate messages to consortium high command, but the responses were not encouraging. Fleet Admiral Gulfane, the latest message read, Consortium Command has reviewed your reports. Your request for additional fleets is denied. Your failure to subdue a primitive species reflects poorly on Consortium military doctrine. Return to base immediately for reassignment. Gulfane looked at his tactical displays, showing human forces systematically hunting down his remaining ships. His fleet had been the pride of the Consortium Navy 6 months ago. Now it was a scattered collection of damaged vessels running from primitive humans, who fought like they had been planning this war for centuries. He opened an emergency channel to the human fleet that was closing in on his position. Human Commander, this is Admiral Gulfane of the Consortium Navy. I request immediate negotiations for ceasefire terms. The response came from General Lee Ha-young, whose reputation was already spreading across Consortium space. Admiral Gulfane, you may surrender your remaining forces unconditionally. Any attempt to leave this system will be considered an act of continued warfare. Gulfane realized he had no choice. His superiors had abandoned him, his fleet was destroyed, and the humans showed no signs of accepting anything less than total victory. He transmitted the signal that would end the Consortium invasion of Earth. All Consortium forces, this is Admiral Gulfane, cease All hostile operations surrender to human forces immediately. The invasion is over. We have lost. The message was broadcast across the solar system and beyond. For the first time in consortium history, an invasion fleet was surrendering to the species. They had tried to conquer, but humanity was not finished. The species that had spent centuries dreaming about fighting alien wars was not going to stop with just defending Earth. They had tasted victory against impossible odds, and they wanted more. President Chenwei addressed the United Nations and the galaxy with a speech that would reshape interstellar politics. People of Earth and beings of the galaxy, she announced, the consortium invasion has been defeated, but this is not the end. This is the beginning. Humanity had announced itself to the galaxy not as a primitive species, begging for recognition, but as the newest and most dangerous military power in known space. The species that could dream up impossible victories and make them real was now looking at the stars with the eyes of conquerors. The galaxy was about to learn what humans did when they stopped pretending their wars were imaginary. 6 months after the consortium had delivered their ultimatum to Earth, the impossible was happening. Admiral Gall Thane sat in what had once been his command ship, now stripped of weapons and escorted by human warships toward Earth. He was carrying a message that would have been unthinkable when this war began. The consortium wanted to negotiate. President Lim Soo-yung received the alien delegation in Geneva with the same smile that had unsettled diplomats since the war began, the smile that said humanity had been expecting this conversation. To the assembled alien representatives looked nothing like the confident conquerors who had delivered humanity's death sentence 6 months ago. These aliens looked defeated, broken by a war they had expected to win. In days you wished to negotiate, President Lim Soo-yung said, studying the aliens who had once threatened to sterilize her planet. How refreshing. We have been imagining this conversation for decades. Admiral Gall Thane served as the primary spokesman for the consortium delegation. He had been chosen because he had actually fought against human forces and survived. The other consortium leaders wanted to understand how their most advanced military had been defeated by primitives. President Lim Soo-yung, he began, his voice carrying the weight of an entire empire that had learned to fear one small planet. We come seeking terms for cessation of hostilities. The human president leaned back in her chair and smiled wider. Admiral Gall Thane, she replied, the time for negotiations was 6 months ago, when you offered us 72 hours to surrender unconditionally. That time has passed. Commander Moon Jae-min now governed humanity's expanding interstellar territories from a command center built inside a captured consortium space station. He had been monitoring the negotiations while coordinating the human expansion into former consortium space. The terms humanity offered were simple and devastating. The consortium would withdraw from all star systems claimed by human forces. They would provide technological compensation for the unprovoked invasion. They would recognize humanity as a sovereign galactic power with all associated rights. Most importantly, they would never threaten Earth or human interests again. Ambassador Krell 9, the senior consortium diplomat, made one final attempt to negotiate. President Lim Soo-yung, surely we can reach a more balanced agreement. The consortium has ruled this region of space for 10,000 years. Surely some accommodation can be reached. The human response was delivered by Commander Moon Jae-min, who joined the negotiations via quantum communication from his command station in orbit around a former consortium world. Ambassador Krell 9, he said with the bluntness that had become a human trademark, you thought you were conquering a primitive world. Instead, you gave us an excuse to take your place in the galaxy. The truth was evident to everyone in the room. Humanity had not just repelled the consortium invasion, they had used the war as an opportunity to expand beyond Earth for the first time. Human forces now controlled dozens of star systems using technology and ships captured from their former enemies. Dr. Yang Mi, young Earth chief xenopsychologist, provided the scientific analysis that would reshape galactic understanding of human psychology. The consortium made a fundamental error. She explained to the assembled delegates, you assumed that military capability could be measured by current conflicts. You did not realize that humans had been fighting hypothetical wars against superior alien forces for centuries. She paused and looked directly at the alien delegates. We are the species that spent generations imagining this. War and preparing to win it, you are the species that never imagined you could lose. The implications were staggering to the alien diplomats. Humanity had not gotten lucky, they had been unconsciously preparing for galactic war through their entertainment. Their military exercises and their scientific research, every human who had ever imagined fighting aliens had contributed to this. Victory Captain Ko Sobin had recently accepted the surrender of the last major consortium fleet hiding in the outer reaches of what had once been consortium space. His message to the defeated aliens had become famous across human space. Next time you want to start a war, make sure you are fighting a species that has not been looking forward to it. The negotiations concluded with the Treaty of Geneva, a document that would be studied by galactic historians for millennia. The consortium did not just surrender territory and technology, they acknowledged something that terrified every other species in the galaxy. Humanity was officially recognized as the dominant military power in their region of space. President Lim Soo-young signed the treaty with the same pen she had been using for routine government business 6 months earlier. The ordinariness of the moment belied its galactic significance. This treaty represents more than the end of a war, she announced to the assembled delegates and the galaxy watching through quantum communication networks. This represents the beginning of a new era in galactic politics. The era when humanity stopped being victims and started being conquerors. Admiral Gulfane transmitted the final surrender message to what remained of Consortium Command as his defeated fleet prepared to leave human-controlled space forever. Consortium High Command, this is Admiral Gulfane. Treaty negotiations are concluded. Human terms accepted without modification. Consortium withdrawal from Sector 7 begin immediately. The response from Consortium Command was a single word acknowledged. It was the end of 10,000 years of consortium expansion and the beginning of something the galaxy had never seen before. A species that had learned to fight impossible wars in their imagination was now fighting real wars in space. The treaty signing was broadcast across consortium territory and beyond. The message was clear to every species watching. Humanity had not just survived their first contact with galactic civilization, they had conquered it, but the galaxy's most terrifying realization was yet to come as human entertainment and culture spread through captured consortium communication networks. Alien analysts made a discovery that would keep them awake for years. Humans were still creating new entertainment about fighting wars that did not exist yet. Their movies and books and games now featured conflicts with energy beings, time-traveling conquerors, interdimensional invaders, and cosmic horrors beyond imagination. Humanity was not just prepared for the last war, they were already preparing for wars that had not been invented yet. The species that had turned imagination into military doctrine was looking at the stars with the eyes of an empire that had only just begun to expand, and they were still smiling like they had been waiting for whatever came next. 1 year after the war began, Ambassador Seo Min Ho stood before the Galactic Council in a hall that had never seen a human before. He was not there as a representative of a primitive world begging for recognition. He was there as the spokesman for the galaxy's newest and most feared military power. The assembled delegates from 200 worlds listened with the kind of attention usually reserved for natural disasters. They had all heard the stories about what happened to the consortium. They had all studied the human victory that should have been impossible. The consortium learned an important lesson. Ambassador Seo Min Ho began his smile, containing depths that made veteran diplomats uncomfortable. Humans had been preparing for their invasion for centuries. We had imagined it, planned for it, and practiced defeating it in countless scenarios. When they finally came, we were ready. The silence in the council chamber was complete. Every alien species represented there was thinking the same thing. If humans could defeat the consortium so easily, what could they do to everyone else? What terrified the galaxy was not just humanity military victory. It was their obvious preparation for the next war. Human exploration fleets were already mapping new star systems with the systematic thoroughness of a species planning military campaigns. Their diplomatic missions studied alien cultures with the intensity of intelligence. Operations General Park So-young now commanded humanity rapidly expanding interstellar defense forces from her headquarters at Alpha Centauri. The former Consortium system had become the center of human military operations in less than a year. Command, this is Alpha Base, she reported during her weekly briefing. All alien species in our sector are analyzing our combat capabilities. They are trying to understand how we defeated the Consortium so completely. The answer was spreading through underground networks across former Consortium space. Humans had been dreaming up ways to fight superior alien forces for generations. Every piece of their entertainment, every theoretical military exercise, every science fiction scenario had been unconscious preparation for galactic war, but the galaxy, real nightmare, was just beginning to dawn on them. Dr. Kim Do-min was analyzing human cultural exports that were now flooding galactic communication networks. Her discovery would keep alien military strategists awake at night. The humans are still creating new scenarios, she reported to the Galactic Intelligence Council. Their entertainment now features conflicts with energy beings, time-traveling conquerors, interdimensional invaders, and cosmic horrors beyond imagination. The implications were terrifying. Humanity was not just prepared for the last war, they were already preparing for wars that had not been invented yet. Captain Lee So-young was establishing humanity's first diplomatic embassy on Kepler 442b, a former consortium world that had surrendered without fighting. Her mission was officially diplomatic, but everyone understood it was really intelligence gathering. The alien population watched her with a mixture of fear and fascination. She moved through their cities with the confidence of someone who had studied their culture for years, because in a way she had human. Xenobiologists had been imagining alien societies for centuries. Local government leaders ex-var met with her in what had once been the Consortium Administrative Center. Ambassador Lee So-young, he said, trying to hide the nervousness in his voice, we welcome human diplomatic presence on our world. We hope for peaceful relations. Lee So-young smiled, the same unsettling smile that had become humanity trademark leader. Zex-var, she replied, we appreciate your cooperation. We look forward to learning more about your people. What she did not say, but everyone understood, was that humans were studying every alien species they encountered with the systematic thoroughness of military conducting reconnaissance. Former consortium worlds were discovering that human occupation was unlike anything they had experienced before. The humans did not just conquer territory, they absorbed it, studied it, and improved it. Human engineers were upgrading alien infrastructure using theoretical improvements they had been imagining for decades. Human scientists were advancing alien technology by applying principles from science fiction. Human military advisors were training local defense forces using tactics developed for fighting imaginary enemies. President Chang Min-ho addressed the Galactic Council from Earth in a speech that would define human-galactic relations for centuries to come. His words were broadcast across the galaxy and recorded by every species with interstellar communication beings of the galaxy. He began looking directly into the camera that would carry his message to 100 worlds. Humanity has learned an important lesson from the Consortium invasion. He paused, letting the silence carry the weight of his words. We learned that preparation is the key to survival. We learned that imagination is the most powerful weapon in the universe. We learned that a species that can dream up impossible victories can make them real. The delegates in the council chamber and the billions watching across the galaxy all understood the message. Humanity was not just announcing their victory over the Consortium, they were warning everyone else about what came next. The Consortium made the mistake of declaring war on a species that had been looking forward to it. President Chang Min-ho continued, do not make the mistake of assuming we are done preparing for the next one. As the session ended and delegates returned to their homeworlds, one truth echoed through galactic space. Humanity had not just won their first interstellar war, they had announced themselves as the species that dreams up impossible victories and makes them real. The galaxy had learned to fear the human smile, but worse than that, they had learned what it meant when humans smiled, like they were waiting for something. Military intelligence services across the galaxy were now studying human entertainment with desperate intensity, trying to understand what impossible threats humans were preparing to defeat next. Their analysis revealed a terrifying pattern. Human imagination was accelerating. They were creating scenarios involving threats that no one had thought possible. Wars against machines that could think, wars against beings made of pure energy, wars against enemies that existed in multiple dimensions. Simultaneously, every impossible enemy that humans imagined in their stories was potentially the next real threat. They would be prepared to fight, and if the consortium invasion had taught the galaxy anything, it was that when humans prepared for impossible wars, they found ways to win them. The species that had spent centuries turning science fiction into military doctrine was now the dominant power in their region of space, and they were still creating new science fiction about fighting wars that did not exist. Yet the galaxy had learned the most terrifying lesson in its history: a species with unlimited imagination and the will to prepare for impossible conflicts was the most dangerous force in the universe. Humanity had smiled when the consortium declared war because they had been waiting for that war their entire history. Now the galaxy watched human expansion and wondered what other wars humanity was waiting for. The answer was simple and terrifying: all of them. Humanity was preparing for every possible war that could ever be fought, and if their victory over the consortium had proven anything, it was that when the impossible wars finally came, humanity would be ready to win them. The galaxy had declared war on Earth and learned to regret it. Now they watched human ships spread among the stars and wondered if they had awakened something that would never stop expanding, never stop preparing, and never stop smiling, like it was waiting for the next impossible war to begin.